All right, everyone. How are you doing today? It is Wednesday. Oh, man. It is Tipping Points and Puzzle Pieces. It is episode 109. Man, on and on we go. The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round. And the wipers on the bus go swish, swish, swish. It's a rainy day in Kitsap County, everyone. But we are here. We're ready to play. I'm so glad that you can join us again this week for the best hour of your week, the human hour of your week, tipping points and puzzle pieces. Get ready to talk about things that matter and the humanity we need to address them. This is the most human hour of your week. And as always, this is only done with the illustrious Mark Boatwright Frost. Let's go ahead and give him an applause and bring him on up.
Hey.
Top of the morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you too. And now my back screen, my screen is now doing weird things. So hold on just a second. Let me adjust things a little bit. Yeah, Facebook isn't the only thing making everything crazy right now. Apparently, all of my background stuff with I did an update on my camera, and now my camera is like jumping around and doing all kinds of weird things. So I'm kind of like going, okay.
Hardware and software, you gotta love it.
Yeah, so I'm trying to zoom in and out, not doing a damn thing. Isn't this update wonderful? Well, folks, ignore the stuff behind me. It'll eventually adjust, I am assuming, sometime.
Is it supposed to be the new logo?
Yeah, it's the new logo, but all of the pipes and stuff behind me, the corner, isn't supposed to be visible because I spent all of this time doing it, and the camera keeps readjusting and doing other things. It says, "Oh no, we're going to do what we want to do."
Going, well, okay. I will tell you while you're working on that, I've been working on software and hardware, and man, there's some really cool new software out. So stay tuned for that. You should be seeing that deployed in the field. Awesome. As always, tune in every Wednesday. Make sure you subscribe and like the podcast so it can be shared with other people. And also hit the notification bell so that you are reminded. YouTube and other platforms will unsubscribe you if you watch others of your favorite podcasts and shows and programming. You might hear that from them also. And I'm talking about large channels with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of subscribers. You are unceremoniously unsubscribed from the show. And so you're like, hey, I guess they didn't do a show this week. Well, you can bet your bottom dollar every Wednesday at 1 p.m. We're here.
Yeah, and we are here every Wednesday. And I wanted to say that if you don't catch us live, you can always follow it up on the Conduit Network, on Facebook, on Tipping Points and Puzzle Pieces on Facebook, on Kitsap Resiliency Movement on Facebook. All of these places stream this live. So you can go anywhere to catch it after the fact. So that's all good. And I want to talk about YouTube for just a second on this.
Go ahead.
They unsubscribe you unceremoniously from things you like, but you can't get rid of things you don't like. You can say, not interested, never show me this channel, doesn't matter, it keeps coming back.
This is true. This is true. One way that you can help with that is if you turn off continuous play. So I'll fall asleep watching a YouTube program and wake up and 20 or 30 programs have gone through. And now it says, hey, this is what you like to watch. And it was just suggested videos, and it's changed my algorithm of what's fed to me. So turn that off.
Right. So, this is kind of important to what we're talking about today. And
sure.
And it's going to tie into something else. But not all YouTube channels that follow the same subject matter are of equal quality by a long shot. I'm very careful about what channels I subscribe to. They usually give me useful information. The source material is checked. The news is solid. It's like I don't watch all of the news media channels on there. I watch Associated Press, and I watch Reuters. I watch Below the Fifth Column. I watch, Guardian and BBC because they're all sourced material. I can check it. They don't have high instances of clickbait. And they're solid material. So when I watch something and then suddenly, oh, this is like that, their algorithm has no way of telling quality of what they're doing or the truth of what they're doing is like that. They just slam you with all of this stuff. I spend, a half an hour to an hour every day just getting rid of stuff so that it tries to teach the algorithm that I'm not interested in this other BS.
Well, one big thing that I think most of us were taught in middle school is to distinguish between fact and opinion, right? And that is tremendously important. And many of these platforms, even the good ones that you cite, they're,
Yeah,
Bo has a slant, right?
it
And
does.
so there will be some opinion that is, pushed in there, and you need to be able to parse out what is the actual fact and then what is the opinion of something. And it's good to have the different perspectives, but within that, whoever you're watching, if you're trying to look at balance and see what the left is saying versus the right, or whatever the opposite sides of the
You have to
coin
be
are,
aware. You have to be aware.
you have to parse out the fact and the opinion in those folks that you respect and that particular source as well. So, and that gets tricky, right? Some things really do sound great. Especially if it's confirmation bias, right? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was thinking just that thing, and you go along with it.
Yeah, and it's and a lot of it is clickbait. A lot of it is clickbait. The unfortunate disaster in Maryland yesterday, in Baltimore, with the ship hitting the bridge. I had people talking to me yesterday about all of this stuff that sounded reasonable about what happened
Mm-hmm.
and quoting these things. And I went and started doing some deep dive into it because I was just kind of peripherally watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw everything from the majority of people who were on the bridge were Latino, which was just emotional grab to send you down a path. That the captain had had lots of accidents before, and the ship had in fact been in one other accident in Belgium.
It has, right?
Right, but it wasn't necessarily that crew or that captain because once you start figuring out what's going on, the ship was made by Hitachi. Maersk is the one who owns the ship, sort of,
Mm-hmm.
and the people who are running, and it's a conglomerate of different companies, and the people who are on the ship are actually a contracted crew from somewhere else. They are not employees of Maersk, so they could have a completely different crew each time they go out.
Well, and the captain was Ukrainian, right?
I don't know. I didn't get that far into it, but each of these things is guaranteed to get you to be emotionally hooked, as opposed to just getting the data to figure out what happened.
I've got a different thought on that.
Okay.
And it's unfortunate. I think it's in this world, it's a necessary evil, right? I noticed that if I don't put time in on my thumbnails, if I don't have a clickbaity title, right, that folks are less likely to click in. I was doing some forensics on the channel last week for shows that I've done a year ago, and it's like, oh wow, there's 700 views on that particular show, but at the time it aired, it had 5, right?
Right.
And it's like, so why? And it's like, oh, I made a clickbaity title. It took some time in Canva and put something together, and you've got to bring people into hook. So if you're just posting, hey, this is what it is, a lot of people unfortunately are here for edutainment, if you will, right? That's the thing. We've
Yep.
combined the two together, and if you don't have that enticing thing that is competing for people's attention, they're not going to click in. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Well, it is, and there's actually a channel that I watch that I actually would watch whether they clickbaited the titles or not because it's a good show,
Mhm.
and they give you solid information. It's very engaging, and I watch it. But they put these clickbaity titles on to keep growing their base so they can do their little sponsorship piece in there, and continue to get sponsors to do different things. And I get that, and I appreciate that that's a need, but a part of me is pissed off by it. I
Well,
just want I get the need. Don't get me wrong, I get the need, but it's kind of pissed off by it because it has really nothing to do with the show. And when you get into it, it's just like something that passes. But here's the boy that cried wolf piece of it.
mhm.
This is about a couple in West Virginia who's doing an off-grid house, and I watch them all the time. Wonderful World Off Grid. I will give them a
Okay.
plug. And with all the clickbait titles, it sounds like they're just about to give up or this, that, or the other happened. None of this has ever happened.
Mhm.
Erin, the wife, had a mini stroke.
Mm.
And it shut the production for one day down, and they were gone for 2 weeks. They came back and talked about it. But in all of the clickbaity things, that got lost.
Right.
That's a serious thing. And
Mhm.
the problem is that we have so many clickbaity things that get our infotainment on that we miss the important stuff. We miss the critical pieces of it because we're all about engaging that emotional response as opposed to engaging our intellect.
Well, and then that's kind of their issue, right? So when they do have a serious issue, they don't clickbait her stroke, so then people don't click on it. And
Right.
so they're actually the orders of their own demise, right?
Exactly
We're
so.
made complicit. This is what I was saying last week. We're made complicit in so many things, right?
Right.
And so you're fighting against the stream.
And what we do at Resilient Ecosystems is on a 1-to-1 scale, growing slowly from a small base, changing that thinking to let's focus on the real and stop being distracted.
Right. Absolutely.
So, going to the point I was going to start off with before we jump into Domino's, as we've just talked through half of our or a quarter of our program, um, I hate memes on Facebook. Hate them, hate them, hate them, hate them. And here's why: people post memes that get an emotional response from them. So, at the
Mhm.
very base piece of it, let me get through the whole thing, Marwan, before you jump in, because you'll have something to say about this.
Oh, great.
Okay, so at the very base meme, they have something that emotionally hooks them. They pop it up on Facebook with no context at all. And you look at it and go, well, that person's kind of an a hole because you don't have the context that it hooked them. Now, that wasn't ever anything about what they were putting up there. They had a different thought, but they didn't bother to write any text with it or provide any context with it about why that's important to them.
Mhm.
Second piece of that is most people don't even know that when they're posting memes about themselves, not about anybody else. And when they post things, it's all about them and how they're feeling and how they react to things. That's fine. I get that. Not a problem. But they post memes that they don't know the source from. And I've been busted for it. I did that a while back. Now I check the source on every meme that I put up there because I don't want to put up something that isn't right. It's like I don't want to quote Einstein and not have it be an Einstein quote. You understand?
Okay.
I want it to be accurate. Because the minute that happens, whatever you said, whatever you felt, whatever you've written has been negated by the fact that it's false. Okay? So I saw a meme the other day that I was really inspired by. But I had a question about it because it was put up there by Gandhi. It had a picture of Gandhi on it and then these words on the side.
Mhm.
And I said, that doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like something Gandhi said. I've read a lot about the man. I've watched the movie. I read some of his writings. It didn't feel right, so I went and searched it, and it was actually by a Gandhi, but it was by his grandson, who's
Okay.
a socio-political lawyer in South Africa, or was. I think he died recently. And while that's a little difference, having a picture of Mahatma Gandhi up there is kind of a falsehood.
Okay.
And I think you need to say this is by Arun Gandhi, the great grand or the grandson of Mahatma Gandhi, and these are things he said in Africa. And this is I'm going to bring up the post right now, and I copied it from a different source because I just wanted the words, and this felt impactful to me, and I really liked what it said, but I don't post things without context.
Let me stop you and just read it for those that are just
Yeah.
watching in their car. It
Okay.
says wealth in bold on the left, and then the throughput is without, that is shaded out a little bit, and then the bold. So wealth without work, pleasure without conscience, knowledge without character, commerce without morality, science without humanity, worship without sacrifice, politics without principle. Okay, go in.
And these are considered the seven sins of culture.
Okay.
Okay.
According to whom?
That was the book that the guy wrote that this was in.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's a direct quote and of what that says. So to me, this is impactful because one of the biggest issues we have is there is wealth without work, and the people who work don't get wealth.
Mm,
I mean, the people who are basically keeping everything running are living paycheck to paycheck, and there's great poverty. But wealth is about moving things around and not about work. and the focus on wealth is probably not a good focus. Pleasure without conscience. You should have. I mean, I think about this as sex worker. I mean, that immediately comes to my mind is we have a rape culture in a lot of places. We have an abuse culture in a lot of places, and people find pleasure in things that I think that they may want to spend a little more or look for pleasure in places that they may want to think a little bit more about before they go there.
Oh, I don't
Uh,
know about that, right?
and and
We're telling women that, their body, their choice. Sex work is something that they can engage in if that's what they would like to do. We've got many different forms of that.
as much
From
as I enjoy this rabbit hole, I'm going to bring it back into a broader picture. You're
Well,
right.
no, no, I've got
You're
to
right.
stop
You're,
you
you're
because
you're right.
I can't let you go too far without pushing back on things, right? Otherwise, what ends up happening is I'm sitting next to you and I'm just co-signing what it is that you're saying. So on that, I really, especially as a heterosexual black male, I have to be very careful about, especially that one is very triggering for me, right? Because we are often sexualized and demonized. You can look at what's happening with P. Diddy here in the news and whatnot. I'm gonna come back out of the rabbit hole because that's a whole deeper discussion. But that tends to be things that we are destroyed with. But you can't have the one without the other. And so it can't be this thing that is an acceptable thing for women to do if and when they decide to do it. And if men participate in the willing behavior of a woman, that somehow we're demonized, right? Sex work is work. So, but you still arrested John, right? We got to
And,
talk about that.
that's fine. But the point of the matter was, it was about talking about pleasure without conscience, and I said it was my immediate thing thinking about sex work, not the point of this. And moving on from that, it's also this adrenaline junkie thing we've got going on. Where risking our lives is important. I mean, there were a lot of the point was there's a lot of thoughts that went with pleasure without conscience, and there's a lot of bread there to chew on
Yes.
to figure out. And that's kind of where I was heading with this. Didn't mean to trigger you on it. And I know there's a
All right.
and I know there's a lot of things there. But my point was there's a lot each of these things has an awful lot of chewing to do to kind of grasp it more.
Absolutely.
And but that's why it hooked me is because I like things that make me, step back and go, okay, does this have merit and how does this feel to me? And so I was sharing with you what the thoughts were that came to my mind initially. Knowledge without character, I have less of a reaction to, but I'm sure there's a lot there. Commerce without morality, well, we could talk about that all day long. Science without humanity, funny thing about that is that a lot of science is focused on I'm just going to say a lot of science is focused on profit or directed by corporations or directed by military can be without humanity. Now they'll argue that humanity it's the security of humanity, but on the other hand, the way we pursue medicine needs to have more human. There's all kinds of things in science that I think needs to have more humanity in the measurement process. Worship without sacrifice. That one I felt really strong about right off the bat. And it doesn't
Why?
matter. It doesn't matter how you worship. I've been having conversations with different people from different faiths recently, and there's a feeling of service to humanity has started slipping from churches. And this is not me saying it; it's a conversation that I've been having. And I think of sacrifice as maybe taking your time to be in service as
Mm.
as as part of that. And I think that there's less and less of that now than there ever was. And that's why it struck me. And again, something I have to chew on a while because I don't really have a thought about it. But again, this is something that was got me to react in thinking about how these go together and whether and how I felt about them enough for me to share with you and say, so I posted a meme, but I posted a meme with context about where it came from and in the sense of that so that people can have that understanding that this was not Mahatma Gandhi who said it, but Arun Gandhi, and that he is actually related to, but that has nothing to do with Mahatma Gandhi. I don't like unresearched pieces. My preference is that people stop posting memes and start posting their actual thoughts.
Do you want them to cite where their thought came from?
If it's their thought, they should talk about their thought.
Well, we can argue on whether or not there's an original thought today, but
But the point is, it is original if it comes from you and it hasn't, and you have a context for how it came about. All of us think about original things. And I have no idea why Mark with Rosecco is on all three of our tags, but okay.
it's
Um,
okay. I can fix it.
okay, so that was a side note there. The other thing I wanted to talk about, I just wanted to put that up and say, challenge people to, put their thoughts up. I'm curious to see what you think, especially in regards to community, in regards to connection. Let's start actually having a conversation, not throwing memes at each other.
Well, can I ask you a question on the memes? Is it the meaning or is it the person, right? So let's say the meaning is the same, but it's attributed to a different person, like
Mhm.
Gandhi versus his
Or,
grandson.
or the thousands that I see with Morgan Freeman on there, and I have no idea if he actually said them or not.
He probably didn't, but if the point is correct, then does it matter who it's accredited to?
Yes, to a great degree, because would we feel the same way if it was just posted with the words? I posted it with the words. Do we feel the same way about it as if it was from Mahatma Gandhi? Do we feel the same way about it if it was posted by, if we thought that Morgan Freeman had said it? And how would we feel if it was Morgan Freeman said it versus um, Jack Nicholson?
Yeah.
It,
So
the person it's attributed to makes a difference in how we feel about it.
So let me come back to that. I just want to answer this in the chat because this
Okay.
was I didn't see it. I'm sorry, Justin. Uh, it's good to see you. Uh, Hi, how are you both? The comment earlier said, "Well, the captain was Ukrainian, right?" I like to ask, why does the ethnicity of the captain or crew matter? What if the captain is Ukrainian? Then what? I was only pointing that out to bolster Mark's point that in all of the coverage that I had seen this morning everyone is putting that news in there, right? So the captain was Ukrainian, and what they were saying as a black swan event is if the U.S. does not fund Ukraine, then this is going to happen, and this will continue to happen. That we're going to feel their pain this way. And
And
so I was just bolstering Mark's point that the actual news and the facts get lost in all of this drama and speculation and urban legendism
utter
that's
BS.
here.
So,
So yeah.
and it ties right into what we're talking about here. If we have the words and they're tied to a person who didn't say them, we will have a feeling about those words that are tied to that person and our feeling about that person as opposed to the actual words themselves.
And so that goes back to my question, right? So right now, Candace Owens is persona non grata, right? We have a saying in the black community that when racist people are done with their tools, white supremacy is done with their tools, they break them, right? And so you can try to side with those that mean you harm, but in the end of the day, they're going to show you what they really think about you, and they did when she, went against what they felt was uh, not okay, right? However, she could demonize the black community and black culture and black men and women all day long on that platform, and that wasn't considered anti-racist or anti-misandric or anything else, right? And so that's one of the things. But then there's another saying that says, "Hey, a broken clock is right twice a day." And for me, it's important that we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There are people, we can't have an intellectual conversation, intellectually honest conversation, right? If you say something about the mustache man, I won't say it on here because that will trigger the algorithm and it won't go through, right? Yes, we know evil personified. If he said 2 + 2 = 4, now we have to throw that out, but that is an actual truth, and we can't parse that out. And so my concern is the meme in itself may have the impact that it was supposed to have. It was incorrect and incongruent with who it was tied to. but there could be truth in it. You know what I'm saying?
That would mean that you'd have to use discernment, which I think was the word of the day 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Let me give you the horn for that one. Yes, I love it.
Okay, so let's go to the next thing we need to talk about, and I need to bring that up now. So I'm going to close this down. I'm going to bring that up and close this down.
You want me to close it?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, for a moment because I've got to bring up the next thing because you're going to like this one, I think.
I like it.
Let me go there and here.
And I'll say, Mark, while you're bringing that up, and if there are other podcasts that you watch, please share with us where they have dialogue in this way, because folks get so caught in the weeds and on gotcha things, right? I said this and now I got you. And it does nothing to further the discussion. We can be disagreeable. We can be.
Hey, I try not to be disagreeable.
I think, well, you should be disagreeable. I mean, you feel and think how you feel and think, right? But we can have dialogue, and maybe it moves your needle and maybe it doesn't. But we have a better understanding of each other. You want me to pull that up?
Yeah, I got it. There we go. So I did not do a word of the week last week, and Marwan busted me on it.
Interesting.
And I did 2 words this week, and we can't actually see the side, can we? Can we?
Oh yeah,
that a little bit?
Okay. Change it.
Okay, there we go. So you can actually see the. Well, let's shrink us down and make it bigger. Oh. There we go. So I missed the word of the week last week. So the term blivit, BLIVIT. They say slightly annoying and ridiculous. And why don't they show all of it here to see more? Okay, so slightly annoying, ridiculous, or useless. Something for which you cannot find a word. Actually, origin was first recorded in 1940 to 45, slang term among U.S. Army, Air Force personnel stationed in New Guinea during World War II. Borrowed this from Australian soldiers also stationed there, and it essentially means 10 pounds of horse shit in a 5-pound bag. Now, this is relevant. This is relevant because to talk to the subject of today's podcast, other than what we've been talking about, is that I've been searching to get source material for updating our webpage and looking for information on water, on food, on all kinds of things. And it takes an enormous time. Every year it takes more time because corporations have entire teams of people to just pelt Google full of garbage that layers over and is newer and layers over using keywords, material that you need to find out what's really going on. And so you end up going to source material in places you don't normally look for to find ones from reliable sources, scientists, universities that actually will say something. So Blivit is 10 pounds of horse shit in a 5-pound bag, and it is what searching on Google looks like these days.
Wow. Okay. That's a word.
Yeah. So the second word is FUBAR.
All right. Hey, I like
one. Okay. FUBAR means extremely bad or certain to fail, to be defeated or destroyed. FUBAR is short term for effed up beyond all recognition. It was also a military term, and is actually in the Street Dictionary now. And in this case, it goes well with Blivit because trying to put something together with the system we have and trying to see understanding, which we've been talking about the last half hour, is with memes, with misquotes, with people posting things that are irrelevant and or wrong, trying to paste under somebody who's legitimate and ride their coattails. People are posting memes that have people that never said them but ride their coattails, trying to get clicks. It's all about trying to get clicks so that they can appear more relevant than they are, to give them more legitimacy.
Yeah, it's. I do agree with you. I don't know the way out of this. it's a we're in a very dangerous territory. I was just sharing. I consider myself a Christian individual, which that is changing somewhat. I still have the Christian belief, but I won't delineate myself as a Christian. That takes a longer discussion. However, that said,
We don't have that much time today.
no, no, yeah. That said, what I'm seeing is a you can do YouTube videos where you've got an AI voice, an AI script, AI pictures and videos, and they're telling different stories in the Bible. And these stories don't actually tell the actual story or the intent of the story, like Jonah in the belly of the whale or Daniel in the lion's den, right? And what those parables were supposed to be teaching has been just changed. And folks won't actually go and look in the Bible. They'll go to Chat GPT and say, what does this mean? And they won't actually pick up the actual book and read the text that's in there. That is very dangerous because now you're changing, what it is, right? It's like that's not what that is. And you have a whole new generation
Did
that is
did you
just
hear that? Did you hear that, Marwan?
what's that?
The sound of a trap slapping shut.
Oh man.
So yeah, this is
It's
exactly
dangerous.
this is what I want to talk about. It's
Yeah.
extraordinarily dangerous. So let's talk about why it's dangerous.
Go ahead.
Okay, so you hear us talk about dominoes a lot, and this show is all about dominoes. What this has brought us to is to show us why we don't see the dominoes falling, why we don't know that they're lined up and collapsing. And the research I've been doing all day is about food systems that are failing and why they're failing and all of the pieces of why they're failing. This is what I do every day. When you go to our website and you see information, it's sourced information. It's there to explain how things come together. Now, much like I will argue, and Marwan, this is entirely my opinion, but having talked to several people in religions, I have severe doubts whether they've ever read the source material for their own religion. Um, and that's just me. I'm not going to say, that is a fact. That
We're
is
in agreement. A lot of people will go to their particular place on the day that they do and listen to one individual talk at them, and they don't investigate it for themselves.
right.
Continue.
And so but I think that's true of a lot of things. I think
It
that
is.
we just assume that something we have heard is accurate.
Yeah.
And, I have an issue with that because I spend an enormous amount of time looking for source material. I sit back and listen to people and I don't comment a lot. Sometimes they take that as acquiescence, sometimes they don't. But the point is, I like to hear what people have to say so that I can actually check it against my own belief system and then go look for actual data on it.
Mhm.
If it's important, a lot of things, and I will tell you, 80% of the things I hear every day, I write off as utter nonsense because our society pushes utter nonsense at us 24/7. It's and within that utter nonsense is fear of relationship with each other, fear of getting to know each other, fear of this, that, and the other, and raising the idea that capitalism and all of the wealthy people are smarter than they are. I mean, all of these messages are written within these things. And that's kind of how we get caught in a trap where we don't even see our own demise coming. Now, I'm not going to tell you that we're going to die, and I'm not going to walk around with a sign saying the end of days are here. But if we don't start paying attention, the end of days will be here. And we need to get by this nonsense and start having discussions and look for real materials because it's a serious issue. And that's how we get out of it. And as I came in at 1:36, I'm actually a little early. Good. So we can talk about solutions. How we do this is we learn the parameters of what's going on and we work together to solve them. I have one puzzle piece. Marwan has one puzzle piece. All you all have thousands and hundreds of thousands of puzzle pieces. The more puzzle pieces that come to the table, the more we begin to understand human needs and your needs and be able to address them by making plans into the future. And if we can get over well, that can't be done because we have to have so and so in Congress or so and so in the city council agree to this. And I said, well, the fact is, if you have 1,000 people in Kitsap County, getting somebody in Kitsap County, a politician in Kitsap County, to agree to something becomes relatively easy because their interest is in staying in office, and our interest is in taking care of our humanity and making sure that we have clean water, clean air, food to eat, good transportation, and we can do that together. That's how you do it. As hard as that is to do in reality, if you start, you'll get there. So I ended up, one of the things that's been frustrating me about this whole thing, and I'm going to pull something else up just a second. I gotta get there and then share the page. So hold on just a moment. There we go. I've been working on the website a lot lately, cleaning it up, and
Oh, hey, we've got a comment really quick here.
okay, go for it.
End of days is coming if we don't change the behavior of our systems.
Yep. And the only way to change the behavior of our system is to actually. Hold on, I lost my thought here. One second. The way to change the behavior of our system is to reprogram it. Okay, now I've got to find where I actually put this.
All right, while you're doing that, I'm going to show everyone else here. This is, goes really well with what Mark is talking about, right? This is what we're facing. This is the G2 Facebook page. And as you can see, these are scammers trying to get us to click on last warning, need to confirm this page belongs to you and is being used normally, or we're going to disable your page. Facebook user, we've received a copyright infringement report, right?
Yep.
Facebook user, we don't know who these people are. Rachel, SP, advertisement with apostrophe T, another warning. And so you can see all of these attacks that we get multiple times a day, every day here. This is exhausting, right?
Yeah, no, I get them in my emails too, and on Facebook.
Time, it could destroy us if we accidentally click on it. Because we do discuss a lot of different things, and we don't want to lose our mode of communication with the community because of an actual copyright issue. So it's very dangerous.
It is. All right. So, you brought it up already. Okay. So, one of my frustrations is I saw a chart with this on it 6 months ago. I did not save it, which I should have done. And so I went and found the report that it came from and created my own chart. So we have one planet with fixed resources. I think we can all agree on that, unless you've got an extra planet in your pocket. We have one planet. We have the Earth. We are currently, according to many scientists and organizations, using the resources on this planet like we have 1.8 planets. Yes, that's close to 2 planets. That's not good news. We're using resources like no tomorrow, which there won't be, because of short-term profit for a few. If we continue using resources at this rate, by 2050, we will be using resources like we have 3 planets. And I don't know how you guys feel about that, but that shocks the heck out of me. And while we're doing this, I also posted a recent article, which I've seen dozens of times in the last 10 years, where people do a research and realize, we're not really recycling anything. Yeah, we haven't been recycling anything. It's a fraud perpetuated by the waste industry. And so we're using resources. We're not recycling the resources we have because it would actually cost the corporations a lot of money to manage their waste that they create. And so we are using resources at an exponential rate. Now, here's the spoiler in this, folks. The U.S. uses almost 25.5% of the resources, and we have a small fraction of the population. Out of 8 billion people, we have 322 million, and we use 25% of the resources of the planet. There's a domino for you right there.
Doesn't that seem low? I thought we were closer to 400 million.
Now, let me check right now, but last I checked, we were at 322.
322.
Sorry, 331.9.
Wow. Okay. Teeny. Not even
Yeah,
5% of the planet.
yeah, and we are using 25% of the resources. So those new things you use in planned obsolescence, we let them get away with. And here's a question I wanted to ask you, Marwan, as we're running. We still have time. Good. Out of all of the things that you have, and you buy equipment all the time for the show and stuff, when something breaks down, how often do you call on warranty?
Very rarely. Uh, so this is a mixed bag. I will say, uh, I try to be very careful on what I purchase. It's one of the reasons why I do open boxing, because it's helpful to other people. I do try to fill out the warranty forms on things, but it does seem that if there's going to be a failure, it's right after the 1 year manufacturer warranty,
Hmm.
and then I've got an issue. Um, so I've been pretty lucky, uh, but usually if there is an issue, it's right after that.
Yep. So we're both talking into microphones.
Mhm.
How many microphones have you had to replace? More than one.
I don't know about replace. I would say I've added,
Okay.
I've improved, but I haven't had to replace any because they're broken.
Okay. The good news then. I was going to point out that things without moving parts shouldn't break down. But when they do break down, and even with warranty card or not, if they do break down, you pick up the phone and you call somebody and you talk to somebody in some other country whose English is far second language, and you have to go through their process, and they have a process to basically make it hard for you to get your needs met.
Wait,
And you end up spending hours of your time on the phone with these people trying to get somewhere to a place where you can get your product replaced. It's
yeah.
never easy. And this has created an environment where people don't even bother to call. Their product that goes planned obsolescent goes bye bye. They don't have, they aren't going to do it. They'll go buy something else, and then that goes into landfill. You see what?
Well, and that goes for, services also, AT&T, Comcast, we
Mhm.
can name quite a few that, we collectively have had issues with, where you
Yeah,
go into this circle and you can't even get a human person, let alone, someone, that can actually help you with what it is that you need.
yeah. Don't bother trying to call when you have to deal with Google products. Just plan for a day. Just plan you're gonna spend a day on the phone.
And if anyone knows a chick, put it in the chat because now Comcast, their AI is so smart. It's like, oh, you need to reboot your router before you call us. And it's like, I've already done that. We know
Yeah.
these steps. We're IT experts now. Government services too. Yep, absolutely.
But the point is, especially manufactured or sales services and product sales, they
Mhm.
bank on the fact that no one's going to call because they make it hard. And they're going to look at, well, I spent $29.95 for it. Does it really matter if I call and get a replacement part or get it fixed? And by the way, there are no repair services here. I have a beautiful Canon Rebel camera that needs to be
Mhm.
repaired. There is no place after post COVID, there is no place locally for me to get that camera fixed. I have to send it to the East Coast and have them tell me what's wrong with it and whether I can get it fixed and how much it's going to be. But I've already sent it to the East Coast. So chances are I'm going to pay whatever it is anyhow, or I'm going to decide to buy a new camera.
Yeah, and oftentimes it's cheaper to buy now than to repair, especially when you factor in time along with the cost.
So now let's take a look at that statement and equivalent to waste
Hmm.
and how we waste things and how our resources are being used and put into waste and we're not recycling them so that they can be reused for something else. We have to change the way we think. We're using resources like we have two planets. Okay, 1.8, but you get my point.
Well, so let
That's
me ask, with phones, what do we do? Like we understand what they're doing. Do we try to hang on to our phone? I mean, if it's designed to break down after 2 years and they want us to get another one, what do we do?
Apple's being sued for that right now, right?
Yes, I do. Yes, I know.
and they actually just lost a lawsuit on that. So um, Google came out initially when the Pixel first came out with a modular phone. That means you can replace pieces and send it back to them, and they would refurbish it. And you could just plug in a new module, a new camera. You could put in a new battery. And now we can't get to the batteries anymore. When I used to have a phone, I'd have it for 5 years because I just replaced the battery. And now you can't do that. So they've made it so it's basically a throwaway phone, and that you buy a new phone from them, and the resources be damned. So, as I say, we have a problem with how we use things and how we see things and what we think is important. And I don't know if I can still find this. I'm going to quickly see if it's in my pictures file. And I'll bring it up if it is. It's a long time ago, so. Oh, there it is. I can bring it up, as a matter of fact. Wow. Okay. Bring that down. So are you putting up we answering these?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, and you're absolutely right, Jason. That's the way that they extract um, more profit, because they externalize the cost of waste. All right, so this I'm going to bring it up a couple of sizes here. I posted this a long time ago, and every now and again I post it again just to remember. It says, "What do you mean there is no more clean water? No more food? No more plastic for ski boots? No more gas for my car? What do you mean by extinct?" And that's really kind of a statement about our current culture. He says, "Well, this stuff has all been there. It's right in front of you. People say it all the time, but then corporate teams bury it so you don't see it again. It comes through in people talking about it. Um, but the point of the matter is, let's talk about gas for your car. No more gas for your car means no more ski boots. It means no more plastic, because we make plastic from petrol, from petroleum products. So things are linked, things are connected. You don't win. Yeah, I agree with you. Privatize the profits, socialize the costs is what they're doing, and we need to socialize the profits and privatize the costs. And we just change that around a little bit.
I love that.
But yeah, but the thing is, we didn't. Why didn't somebody tell me? You're being told constantly. You're not paying attention, because you hear about the captain of the ship being Ukrainian. You hear about and I'm sorry, I'm a little squeaky this morning. My throat's been a little raw. Um, but we get distracted constantly by this stuff, and we need to start paying attention to the actual information in front of you. You need to find people that source the material, that tell it to you straight, but also have a solution, because a lot of people will tell you this stuff just to scare the hell out of you and get you to elicit emotional response too. I don't want your emotional response. What I want is, I want people to come together and start talking about how we fix it together. And that's what we do. That's what Marwan and I do every day. That's what we do with resilient ecosystems. That's what we do with the Kitsap resiliency movement. That's what we do. And you can tell Marwan and I don't agree on everything.
Good. That's how it should be.
Yeah. If everybody agreed with me, I'd be really worried. And I'd probably have to find a whole new set of friends. I don't like it when people agree with me. I like it when people push back, because when people push back, I learn.
Well, and you just need the quid pro quo of it,
Yep.
the mutual respect and dialogue and conversation, which is helpful.
Yep. And I think I honestly really thoroughly believe that we can all come together and sit down and find common ground. We just have to do it respectfully. And if we do, we find the puzzle that will create the picture that will solve a lot of these problems and help us get into the future. And I firmly believe, this is me. I'm not talking about some spiritual best friend in the sky. I'm not talking about, a podcast or anything else. My personal opinion is that our only way forward is together.
Is that a pejorative?
Yes,
And why would you be woefully offensive?
I wasn't willfully offensive, was I?
A spiritual best friend in the sky? That's not how I view my Christianity.
I didn't talk about Christianity. I'm talking about anybody who believes something. I didn't say that at all. I said, whatever power you think is there that's going to do it for you, that is telling you what to say, this is my feeling.
Well, that's why I'm asking you for
Yeah.
clarification, right?
Yeah.
And if that's your feeling, you still don't have to be willfully, uh, what's the word? What's the word I just used? It escapes me. But the way you phrased that was that there was a dig on religion.
Not only religion, but yes, a dig on anybody who thinks somebody's going to pull them out or tell them a truth that's going to make it all go away and be better.
Mm. That's not how I
Which is
view it.
not what Christianity does.
Right. But when you say it that way, right, you need to clarify that because that
Okay.
is the way that you threw that salvo was like the shit on religion, right? You're Sky Daddy. You hope Sky Daddy will bail you out, right? I
Okay.
took offense to that. So
Oh, I'm
just
sorry you did, but I think you and I can both agree that there are several people who refer to Sky Daddy as talking to them, and they serve up a bunch of utter bullshit under that word or under that feeling. And that's not my feeling of Christianity as a general rule.
right. Just be clear to parse that out, right?
Okay.
There are third rails that just slanging those grenades into the room without clarification, you tend to hit the people that you didn't intend to hit, and
Okay.
then you lose folks.
Yeah, but it's so much clearer when I say the invisible voice in the sky as opposed to the con man in the giant church. But
Okay, now you lost me on that analogy.
yeah, just the people who say things that just aren't even based in religion. It's based in their own ego.
Oh,
But
prosperity doctrines, pulpit pimps. Yes,
yes,
there
that's
are
what I'm
those
talking about.
people that are disingenuine in their actual faith and religious walk with whatever they believe in.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's actually who I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to save you. Just write me a check for $1,000.
Started to mock one, but I won't do that, right? Uh, but then that would be me going down that, right? So for
Yeah.
someone else, that's their religion. So
Yep.
on and on it goes. And so it's tough. But again, we need to be able to have that dialogue. And on these shows that folks watch, whether it's whatever the channel that Candace Owens came from and some of the other things
I
that
don't
were
even know
still
who she is, so I've been wondering about that. I'm going to look her up afterwards.
yeah, a lot of people do. The Daily Wire and some of these other
Okay.
think tanks that are out there that are propped up, right?
They don't do a
They
lot of thinking.
MSNBC, Fox News, name them all, right? It's not about having actual dialogue and getting through to the truth. It's just we want our opinion to win, and we're pulling someone onto a show just to make them look bad and make them look stupid. And I don't think that adds to the thing at all. I actually like some of the things that the Young Turks have to say, but they have this segment where they go out and interview Trumpers, and it's like to what end is that to make them look bad, right?
Divisiveness and clickbait.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Capitalism is ultimately the superstructure that upholds this all. Without the takedown of the economic system, nothing meaningful can change. And also, PragerU. Yes, absolutely.
So I want to speak to the last one. And this is something I say frequently.
Mhm.
There's two things I want to say, but I'll put the second one off for a minute. I say frequently, it's about transition. if somebody gave me a magic wand and said you can do anything you want to do with this magic wand, but you only get 3 wishes with it, none of those wishes would be to take down capitalism today, because the disaster that would happen because of that would be unmanageable and put us back into the Stone Age. We are not ready for that. It has to be a transitional process. It takes time to build an infrastructure on which to change to a system other than capitalism. And my problem with a lot of the way people approach things is they want the change to happen now. Flip the light switch, make it happen. But when you do that, there are consequences that you don't see that will be devastating. And so the only reasonable path and human path is to transition together to else.
You really believe that, the magic wand, and you say you want to dismantle capitalism. I'm using your example, right?
Right.
If we have Cascadia Rising, we're not even talking about what the bridge down is going to do for that population, not only there in Baltimore, but throughout the United States, right? That's a
Mhm.
major shipping port.
Yeah.
And folks getting
And,
back
and and that's their beltway. That highway was their beltway.
this, yeah, this is years, right? Of inconvenience, and this is going to cost. Um, folks are going to suffer uh, from this bridge being down. If we have Cascadia Rising, if we have some of these other natural disasters that go, capitalism, I don't think is going to be what pulls us out of that. If it's big enough, we literally are all going to have to put our hands in and help each other out, right?
Yep.
Your physical dollar isn't going to help me when we're covered in mud and soot and we're trying
And
to
the
stay up.
dollar's worth a worm. It doesn't. I mean, a worm is actually more valuable than a dollar in that case, because the worm will feed the soil, which will allow you to feed yourself.
And in the comment, I'm not advocating for a magic wand approach. We need to point out, though, what the ultimate problem is.
No
And I
argument
wanted
here.
to speak to that point. And I think the way forward is we had a social contract that was created in this country, definitely imperfect as it left groups out. However, there is nothing stopping us from making a social contract today, right? We can take
Nothing
the
at
good
all.
parts out of the part that was well intentioned and put things in it that are progressive in today's world and build a new social contract and agree to that social contract and go forward. And again, we're talking about enough puzzle pieces to get to a tipping point.
Yeah.
And I see the stroking of the chin there, so I have triggered your trap cards.
No, I'm just thinking that that's exactly what we do. I mean, the whole point of everything we do is to bring people together to create that new social contract.
Yeah.
And again, I've said this a bunch of times this week, is our job at Resilient Ecosystems is to help the people in Kitsap County form the beginning of that new social contract by getting them to talk to each other, by facilitating community gardens, by getting people to begin that conversation and form a grassroots network to change that here, and then present the how to do that to everywhere else. That's what we're doing. And we don't need everyone to agree. We need 15 to 20% to agree, and they will after we start talking about it and working together. And that's just, it's a process. The work that we are doing is generational work. It's not going to happen overnight. Now, I do want to go back to cycle back for just a second, and it's 2:01, so I've lost 4 minutes in that conversation. To say that, I'm not perfect, and I trigger Marwan frequently because we have different ways of looking at things and different ways of saying things, and providing that context, and Marwan is absolutely correct in that, providing that context to what I mean when I say something is vital. And I look to Marwan to push back on me so that I can provide that context. And sometimes it's not even clear in my own head how I meant that. So it's important for that, because that way it allows us to communicate on a different level and allows us to get to a point where we can come to an agreement on the things that we find in common.
Well, I
And
also have to respect
that's what we
you,
model, and that's what we model together in these shows.
but I have to respect you enough to give you the space to clarify. Is that
Yes.
what you meant? Did you
Yes.
mean it as a pejorative? If you did, this is how I felt about it. Let's go from there, right? So oftentimes someone says something that can be offensive. It could be, intentional, unintentional, but we don't give them the space to navigate through it to get to the other side. And this is what you see with cancel culture, right?
Yeah.
And while the right will say, "Oh, the left is cancel culture," you see the right's doing the same thing, right? Both sides do cancel culture. It just is what it is. We're not going to get there that way. There are bad actors, there are evil people, there are bomb throwers, there are trolls for sure, and all
And
those folks will be illuminated.
yeah,
But we're trying to deal with the 15 to 20%, as you said, that
yeah.
want to build something different.
And I am far from perfect. So I work very hard to do the best I can. And that's all I can promise every day.
Yeah, I like it. Sounds like the four agreements. We might need to touch on that here on one of these shows because we haven't talked about it in a while.
Coming up very soon.
Ah,
I,
nice.
I actually have the next 3 shows lined up.
Oh man, see you see that clairvoyant synergy, right? And remember, folks, I don't know what we're talking about, so I go in cold every week.
Yeah, and when Terry and I talked before the show, I said, "Okay, well, here's where I'm going to start. Then Marlon's going to do something, and then I'm going to have to figure out how to get us back on track."
Uh, but I think it's the best dialogue, right? It's
It
it's
is.
not
It is
scripted. We've
absolutely.
got an idea, and we go, right?
Yeah, you've never heard me complain about it because it actually helps me work on figuring out what people are going to react to and how to bring them back to the place that we need to be to have the conversation.
Well, and to be clear, this is your most human hour of your week, as Mark has coined this particular hour. But it is also one of my favorite hours because I do want to get out of the echo chamber. I do want to hear a diversity of thought. I do want to hear different ideas, and I want to hear solutions. How do we move forward? What are the things we can do? And as we close, as we're a little over today, it's how do you eat the elephant? How do you eat the shark? One bite at a time. Work on a section, right? If it's capitalism or socialism, or if it's food for all, water for all, this is what you believe we should do to come together to solve this problem. Don't worry about trying to solve everything all at once. Just solve one piece. Maybe it's transportation. Maybe it's food on your street, in your neighborhood, in your zip code, right? Think small.
And as I just finished updating I'm trying to tackle 3 pages of the webpage a day, updating them and moving them instead of trying to do the whole thing. The header of the webpage and all of our Facebook presence now starts with Lao Tzu's quote: "The journey of 1,000 steps begins with, or 1,000 miles begins with a single step." One step at a time. Let's tackle one thing at a time, and suddenly you'll find we've tackled 10.
That is so antiquated. We need to change that because for me, the first step is with a full tank of gas, some red vines, Red Bull, probably good coffee, a couple other snacks, good music.
Oh, you're going to make me do it, aren't you?
Go ahead.
Got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes, or dark glasses are on. Let's go.
There you go.
And you don't know where the quote's from.
Nope.
Blues Brothers.
Ah, okay. See, I like it.
Yep.
All right. I think that was a fantastic show today. I hope that you've taken something good from this episode. Tonight, we will have City Council at 5 p.m. It is study session today. Should be good. Tomorrow at 3 p.m., we have Jane Rebelowski on for our civic hour. And you are free to submit questions for her to ask either before the show or live on show. We're very appreciative that Councilwoman of District 4 is making herself available to us to share her insights. She's going to talk about tomorrow goal setting for City Council and how they do that. So please lend your voice. This is how democracy works best, is if those who historically don't have a voice and aren't heard have a voice at the table. And this is how we do that.
Okay, so thank you, Justin, for participating. Just to answer your statement about the afternoon talk. And reminder that we will be at Cups Cafe on Sunday at 10 o'clock.
All right. Well, then, for Mark Boatwright Frost, I'm Marwan Cameron. This is Tipping Points and Puzzle Pieces. This was episode 109. We'll be back next Wednesday. Same bad time, same bad channel, episode 110. Subscribe, like, and